Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I was gonna say video, but you haven't started watching this video yet, so hello. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you haven't seen this face before, then nice to meet you. My name is Mila, and my channel is really kind of new, so if you want to see my growth and how I like to do things, and this video gets you interested in following me, then make sure you hit that subscribe button. So today is going to be a really short, simple, and sweet video. We're simply going to talk about some things that you should think about when you're going to an expo, especially if it's your first expo. So just to kind of prepare you with some expectations and things like that. And then at the end of this video, I'm also going to include a vlog of a recent Repticon Expo that I went to in Marietta, Georgia. If you see me looking down a lot, it's because I have my notes here at the bottom. But let's just go ahead and start out with before you even walk through the doors. First of all, definitely expect to pay an entry fee. And the only reason I'm bringing that up is not because it's like a duh type of moment, but because there are people that I have brought with me to an expo and they're thinking it's a free event. So expect to pay money. And depending on your age and the age of the people around you, it might be some variability in the prices. But definitely expect to bring money. And while we're talking about money, I would even recommend carrying cash on you. If you are on a budget and you're trying to prevent yourself from getting there and impulse buying things, definitely bring a set amount of cash with you. That way you just kind of eliminate that possibility. Of course, there are vendors there that take card as well, so don't think that you have to bring cash, but it is a recommendation if you're trying to stay within a certain use. Okay, my next tip. When you first get in there, don't feel like you have to buy the very first animal that catches your eye and that you definitely know that you want. First of all, this goes without saying, you should have done your research before you got there and had intentions on even buying an animal first of all. But let's say you did do your research, you knew for sure that you were coming there to get a ball python, for example. Don't just go with the ball python at the first table when you walk in. Now, if you do see an animal that you know for sure that you really, really want and you think is going to be sold right from under you, then go ahead and buy it. But if you think you can kind of wait and it's not that dire for you, window shop a little bit. You know, these expos seem to be really saturated in vendors that are pretty much selling the same thing. So you might see a particular morph that you are really into, but there might be somebody in there that has the same morph but for a lower price, or you might just like the way the morph looks on this particular animal better than the very first one you saw, or anything could really cause you to, like the next one you see as opposed to the very first one you see. So when you first get there, window shop. Look around. I like to go in there and visit every vendor and just see what they're offering before I go back and start making my purchases. Like I said, keep this at your discretion. If you think it's something that's going to be sold right from under you, then definitely grab it when you see it. But other than that, if you feel like you have the option of walking around first, definitely do that. Now, let's say that you are at a vendor's table and you've decided on one of their animals. First of all, before you purchase anything, if it's a holdable, something that you can hold, I definitely recommend you hold that animal. Holding an animal is going to tell you a lot about their temperament, their personality, but also you're going to be able to visually inspect the animal. You don't want to walk away with something thinking that you got a great specimen and you bring it home and you realize it has mites all over it, or it's burnt on the underbelly, or whatever the case may be. Generally, they have no issues with you holding the animal if you actually have intent to buy. So if you think that is a high possibility that you're going to purchase an animal, then you need to make sure that you hold it. That's going to tell you everything that you need to know. Now, if you get it in your hand and you're like, we aren't really gelling well, I can't really get down with this one, then now you know, and you didn't even spend your money. So definitely hold the animal first. After you've held the animal, now it's time to go through some questions with the breeder. Things that you want to know right off the bat: the age of the animal, how old it is. Now, depending on if you just want an animal for a pet, you might not care that much, but I like to personally know how old an animal is, just because I like to be aware of birthdays that are coming up, and then it kind of helps me keep tabs on a lifespan and everything like that. So sometimes they really don't know exact dates, but they should be able to give you a range, like, a few months to a yearling, or whatever the case may be. If you can get a good age range, that would be nice. Also, this may go without saying as well, but make sure you know the sex of your animal. Even if you're not interested in breeding in the future, that just might be some info you want to be privy to, because with certain species, you know, males might be smaller than females or vice versa. And there's certain behavioral differences between genders that you just might want to be aware of before you buy an animal. Especially if you went in there looking for a female, you want to make sure you get a female. And then you also want to know the feeding schedule and what they are feeding the animal. So you want to know the feeding schedule, because that, you know, when you reintroducing the animal into your own home, it might help you with trying to stick to the feeding schedule that they were on before you start making adjustments to your own. So first of all, you don't want to put the animal in a new environment and then completely change its diet. That's really going to stress that animal out. So it's already going to a new home. Let's at least try to keep some factors similar to, you know, what it was before. That way it kind of helps it in that adjusting period a little bit. So when it comes to frozen thawed versus live for snakes specifically, that is something you want to know. You know, my ball python was feeding live with the breeder, and I switched it to frozen thawed. If your animal is feeding live and you know for sure you don't want to do live feedings, then you have to go into that knowing that that animal may never switch over. Sometimes they just, you know, they've been getting live all their life, they want live, and they're not going to change. And so knowing that, hey, this animal is feeding live, you'll know why it's not eating frozen thawed for you, but also you'll know the challenges that may arise trying to get it to switch to frozen thawed. So that's all information that you need to know right up front before you even put money down on the animal. And then I've kind of already touched on this, and sometimes when you have breeders who have, you know, a rack system and they have X amount of animals, sometimes they really don't know the personality of their pets, but you know, they might have had one-on-one interactions with some of them and might know them on a more personable level. So I would even take the time to say, hey, is there any personality things that I should know about? Is the temperament good? And they might not have an answer to that question, but at least you asked, and you may find out something that they weren't going to tell you originally. And then also you might want to say, hey, well, is there anything else that maybe I should be privy to that I haven't asked you, or I'm not thinking to ask you, and just see if there's any other things that they can give you. They might have certain tips that they've noticed with that certain animal when it comes to housing and things like that. So just see, hey, do you got any other tips that you can give me when it comes to properly taking care of this animal? So let's say that you now decided, okay, I've asked all the questions. I think this is the right animal for me. I think it's a reasonable price and everything like that. And so you've decided that you are going to buy this animal. Do not walk away from that table without getting a business card or contact information or something of that effect, because if a problem arises in the future, you want to know, you want to be able to hit them up and say, hey, I'm having issues with this, can you help me out? But also, if you get an animal, I'll give you an example. I had bought a king snake at an expo one time. I took that animal home. Husbandry was on point based on my research, and that animal would not feed for me. Every time I fed it, it regurgitated. And it was the most frustrating thing. And so I finally got to the point where I realized that this animal was sick. I was sold a sick animal, but I didn't even know the contact information of the company that I bought it from. So I couldn't even hit them up and express my concerns, or even talk about, you know, sending me a new animal, partial refunds, none of that. I had no troubleshooting options with the company because I didn't even know who I bought it from. And that snake ended up dying on me. And it was hard. And it was definitely harder because I had nobody to hold accountable. So make sure that you get a business card and that you have somebody that you can get in contact with if anything goes wrong, or even if nothing goes wrong and you just have follow-up questions after you get the animal home. And then my last tip, my last word of advice while you're at an expo is leave time to simply enjoy the expo. Sometimes they have many events going on where they're having, you know, people talk and give presentations. Leave time to actually walk around and look at stuff without, you know, thinking like, oh, I gotta go get back to that table so I can buy this specific thing. You know what I mean? So for generally what I'll do, if I'm there to buy an animal, you know, I'll do my window shop, then I'll go pick an animal, and then if I'm there, say that I have to get some other supplies as well, like some substrate or some hides or anything like that. If it's something really small, I might go ahead and get it. But for the bigger stuff, I wait until I'm about to leave before I even buy that. So I have my animal in tow, and I'll just, you know, walk around again or go see a presentation, or just leave some time to actually enjoy the expo. You will learn a lot. I mean, even if you just go up to breeders and start asking questions about animals that they have that maybe you don't even have any intent on buying, but maybe you just want to be a student and expand your knowledge. It's a great platform for that. It's a great time to do that. You've already paid money to get in there, so don't just go in there, buy what you need and leave. I mean, you can, but I would say take the time to also enjoy the expo and learn some new things. So you're going home with knowledge and a new animal. So it all works out. And that was my last word of advice. So I'm going to go ahead, like I said, I'm going to insert the footage from my last expo at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed evening, day, night, morning, whenever you are watching this video, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye! What's up, y'all? Welcome to the vlog. Got my bros with me. We're going to Repticon Marietta today. So we're just going to do a little vlog, show you guys around, see what they got popping in here today. Let's get into it.